Reed, it's time to grill Auburn's all-decade punter, Kody Bliss.
You ready?
Absolutely. Are you?
All right, I am. Here we go. What's wrong with kickers? Why can't they get with the program?
They are with the program. Why can't everybody else get with their program?
Who would you rather fight, Van Tiffin or Lee Tiffin?
Both of them at the same time.
Good answer. What's the farthest you've ever punted a ball?
Farthest in a game is 86 yards down on the one.
I wish you wouldn't make things up. Did you ever lie about what position you played to impress girls?
No, but I did tell them I was Australian.
If ignorance is bliss, then bliss is ignorance. Are you ignorance?
I don't think that's how the things work on the SAT. Maybe supposed to use different words.
Who is currently the third best football program in the state behind Alabama and Troy?
UAB.
How many national championships do you think Alabama will win this season?
13.
How often do people confuse you with Kody Burns?
All the time. It is insane.
Are you happy this interview is finally over?
After the last question, yes.
Are you ready to ride on an elevator?
I thought this was over, but yes.
Do you believe that this interview is over now?
I thought we had gotten that stated, yeah.
What was your Wonderlic score?
39?
Smart kid.
Those are good answers.
Smart kid.
Good answers.
Thanks, guys.
Kody Bliss, before we get started, I feel like I have to ask, did you mean to touch my arm there in the elevator?
Did you mean to touch my leg?
Mm-hmm, touche.
It was an awkward ride. All right, so Kody, let's jump right into it. I think all of us watched the Auburn game this past weekend, and I noticed that they have a lot of new players this year, a lot of new starters, and they seem to be employing a strange strategy where they're not trying on defense. Why do you think they've taken that approach?
I think they decided that the more screen passes they let them get yardage on, the better.
Just sort of build up the other team and make it more crushing when they defeat them.
It's a new theory. They're being a little more philanthropic.
Philanthropic, a nice word.
Philanthropic defense.
Indeed. Well said.
Cody, since you've been there, tell us how it is in the locker room during halftime when you're down, and especially down to a team like Utah State.
It's not always fun. And a lot of times we would kind of scoot out early to avoid the not so fun part. Because you get back and you have a few minutes with position coaches. And then, you know, Big Daddy, in this case, Coach Chiswick, but for us, Coach Double will come in and kind of lay into people if he has.
And I guess as a kicker, it's really not important for you to be involved in anything that the team does.
No, absolutely not. We try to, what team?
Right.
All right, so let's change gears a little bit and talk about the team across the state, Alabama. Will and I have looked at the schedule this year, and as we said before, we have a hard time figuring out where they might lose a game. How do you see their season shaping up? Do you think they'll lose a game, and if so, who do you think might beat them?
Probably, I mean, the best bet to beat them would be LSU. LSU's got a really strong running game, really strong defense, and they're really good at getting turnovers. And we saw this past week with their quarterbacks, they'll turn the ball over. Now, that doesn't mean as the season progresses they're not going to get better with more game experience. But right now, LSU would be a strong opponent for them and might give them trouble. And even this weekend, Penn State could possibly give them trouble if they make the same mistakes they did against Kent State.
Do you feel that players have the same sense of animosity toward the other side that many fans do?
No, I think it's a lot of fans try to make it their identity. This rivalry, it's their thing, and that's all they worry about. But when you've actually been a part of it, it's not not saying it's not a big deal. I want Auburn to win every single time, but it's not as life or death in that situation as it can be for some people that make it their sole identity.
Right.
And I think that's a lot of the problems we get into is basically just coming from that.
Okay. Last question, outside of Jordan-Hare, what was your favorite stadium to play in the SEC?
Ooh, favorite stadium. Neyland, UT. And that's because this is the year, once again, 2004, and a bunch of people had been picking Tennessee to beat us. And we went in there and were up 31-0 at halftime. At that point, we had set the record for the least number of Rocky Tops played in a game in UT history.
Hey, still a fantastic song, though.
Oh,
like Tennessee or Hate It. Yeah, it's a great song.
They played that song on loop in the training room for a week before that game.
So that kind of stuff really does happen in the locker
absolutely.
room.
Yeah.
And do you put up pictures of like Alabama?
Every
stuff
now
like
and then, if there's quotes from the other team when they say something silly that they shouldn't say about any player in particular, like they say, hey, we're going to do such and such to the offensive line, you'll walk through there and a coach or somebody will have plastered that up, just kind of hang it in their lockers so that when they get there, they kind of have this thing to read.
Kody Bliss kicks like a girl, but I guess you don't necessarily put him up if your teammates say that. It's just if the other team does it.
Yeah. It doesn't work as well if it's your own team saying it about you. It's got to be the other team because you want to beat them.
I'd always heard that, and I'd heard that Alabama had done that from last year's Iron
yeah.
Bowl, but Reed and I were in the locker room recently at Bryant-Denny and saw none of that. We saw lots of pictures of ourselves.
Well, and I don't know if they practice there. That's probably the game locker room. It's not in the game locker room. It's in the practice. This is in the practice locker room.
There are 2 locker rooms.
Fancy.
Well, for us, I don't know. Auburn's been pretty good lately, though.
Well, Kody, this has not surprisingly been a very pleasant visit, and thank you for stopping by.
Thank you.
Before we get out of here, do you think if we go outside and you try to kick punt a football, I should say, off of the top of Vulcan, and we try to catch it, is that something you're up for?
It's something I'm up for. Is it something you're up for?
I don't know. We'll find out, and also I need to check on my life insurance before we do that. So stick around for that, and also coming up later, the Innisfree Trivia Minute.